Today in the show, we have Ari Bean Things, an artist who's perfectly fine with Ari or Bean. Ari is sarcastic, sassy, mostly joking, and is just trying to navigate through life with mental health struggles and all the deep feelings. Ari's art is home to critters, creatures, cowboys, fungi, and plants with eyes. Ari's work is both digital and traditional art and craftings, often streaming the process on Twitch.
Welcome to another episode of Origins, a Creative Journey. Welcome to the show, Ari Bean.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So what is your origin story?
I've always done art. So for me, my origin story, I think, is more like a recent thing of how I've gotten into it and the way that I've gotten into it. I've drawn my whole life. I grew up being the art kid, being the person that people ask to doodle this or doodle that. And I took art courses in like high school, as your extracurricular activity thing that you did for one of your periods at school. And I also did actually a regional operational program through high school. It was 4 years of classes smashed into 3 years for architectural design and engineering. So technically I do like that kind of stuff too. I have a certification for that and I just never used it for anything. And yeah, and then after high school, I kind of backed away from that a little bit, still drawing on the side. I always had a sketchbook. It was always something I carried with me, even if I wasn't super into it at the time. And then I actually taught myself how to play music, joined a band, did the whole music thing for a while, and then started doing art within my musicianship, I guess, doing band merch for other local bands and album covers. And then the pandemic happened and I just got really into digital art because all the gigs got canceled. And I went from not really doing it very much, just on the side, to it being my main thing. And then really just having it encompass my whole life and everything I do. And I backed away from the music a lot. And I've grown a lot, like artistically and stylistically in the last 2 years, 3 years. So, yeah.
That's so cool. And by the way, I want to hate the pandemic was good for us creative people.
I mean, it was a blessing in disguise, as terrible and awful as it was with everything happening. I feel like it really forced people to just be like, no, you're going to pay me what I deserve for this, because a lot of people were lowballing themselves. And a lot of people also stood up for creatives when the pandemic happened and were like, no, these people deserve to, like, live off of what they do. It's a job and should get paid appropriately for it. And so a lot of people, I feel like it pushed me to change my rates and take myself a little bit more seriously publicly. It was really good for me, as awful as everything was, or losing my jobs was. So
I think the also thing that happened with the pandemic is that somehow us creative people found each other.
yeah.
And it gave us a place to like be able to play with each other, right? And bounce off each other. Where'd you grow up?
I'm actually born and raised in California. I'm from the Bay Area originally. Then my family moved to Sacramento. It was a kind of a great migration of Bay Area folks, more east. And so my whole family moved to Sacramento. I have 4 younger siblings, so I have 7 people in my family.
That's awesome. I too am originally from Northern California, but I unfortunately, well, for better or for worse, I was kind of the opposite of growing up in the Central Valley and then moving to the Bay Area before I
That
moved down
also
here.
happens. I noticed that also happens, is like people are here and it's really packed here, and then so they go to somewhere that's like kind of a similar vibe, a little less traffic. And yeah, so it's LA people jump to the Bay Area, San Francisco, all that. And then all the people that are in San Francisco and all that are like, oh, just go to Sacramento where I can drive over to SF, but I don't have to live there.
Lots of different migrational vibes here. I kind of want to go back to a little bit what you said about shifting your rates during the pandemic, because I think for a lot of creatives, there is that I think people feel the need to sell by any means necessary. And so they'll lower their prices to make the sale. Like, walk us through this. Gigs dried up or jobs were harder to get, and then you moved to art full time. Can you tell me about that mindset and what you went through going from, oh, maybe I'm charging this price to now I'm increasing my rates and I'm taking myself more seriously?
So when I got my iPad, it was actually, I've been using a Samsung Galaxy Note 8, which is really tiny, tiny, tiny screen. And I was using Sketchbook. And it's a free app that you can use to get into digital art. And also it was a really easy transfer over to like Procreate. I feel like Procreate was really easy to go from Sketchbook to Procreate and know generally what I'm doing and what I have to work with. And so I made that transition July of 2019, actually, and had been paying off my iPad. I put it on a credit card. My dad put it on his credit card. I paid off the excess on top of whatever he could put on his credit card. And then I just had like a payment plan with him, which bless him because I wouldn't be able to do that without him. 100%. And so I was charging $50 for a commission. And I'm not going to talk like specifics on pricing and stuff like that because like going forward, but yeah, so I was charging $50 for a commission and it was for either a logo or a t-shirt merch design for a band or whatever. And I was like, if I do, what is that, 20 of these? Is that what that is? 20 of these, I will have paid off my iPad and that would be awesome. And I could probably, sell 20 of these for $50 really pretty easily. And I did have a lot of people hit me up and do a lot of designs and actually get everything done super fast and paid off before the timeline that we had set. And then it was hard to bump up from there because it's so cheap and people want to come back to you. But then they're like, oh, you've raised your prices. I don't know. Maybe I'll see if somebody else can do it, or maybe I'll try to do it. I don't know. And then I had a lot of people actually that were tipping me already on top of the $50, being like, hey, I really like this stuff. Thank you. Here, I want to pay you more for your time. And then they stayed with me even when I raised my prices more. Like, I want to say it was 2020. I started realizing I should raise my rates. I'm doing this stuff more often. My stuff looks way better than when I was doing it initially because I'm way more familiar with the program. I have a style a little bit more solidified, which I don't even feel like I solidified my style until this last year, honestly. But yeah, so I felt more confident. I was growing so much. I raised my rates. A lot of people did come back and want more stuff, an album cover here and there, or things like that. And the pandemic was what shifted me into that. So coming off of like losing my job and realizing I need to do something to keep myself busy, to make money, I decided to start streaming actually in 2021. Still during the pandemic, everything down here was all closed down and it's really hard to find a job. And yeah, my siblings stream. And so they were like, you should get into it. You should do it. There's artists on there. You wouldn't have any trouble doing it. There's a community for it. And so I got into it and I just learned on stream and grew on stream. And I think that's a lot of the appeal of my stream. As far as like what I've heard from people that have been around for a really long time is I like that you're willing to learn and be open and be like realistic and share your experiences. And it's easier for newer artists to look at stuff and be like, it's a process rather than this person's just really good at this. And it makes it really easy for people that are growing or want to get into it to feel comfortable jumping into it at any time and just being patient with themselves with it. And so, yeah, the changing my rates and everything, the pandemic really switched me into, I've got to make money off of it. I've got to take myself more seriously. I'm doing this more professionally. Streaming on Twitch, people bully you into make more money on your stuff. You're undercharging, blah, blah, blah. I thought you were going to charge this much money for this painting and this much. I'm going to pay you this much. And so like that also really opened up my perspective on just what I should be charging as an artist. And then asking other artists around me now that I'm doing it a lot more, have more of a community there. What are you charging for this? What do you think I should be charging for this? And it's still all, it's kind of hard to figure out just because art's such a broad thing. I'm a maker crafter kind of artist. So I do like embroidery patches, fabric, fiber mediums, as well as painting and digital art. So it's really hard to figure out how to price all of those things.
You mean you're a creative person who likes to play in everything, like all good creative people, right?
I have ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is completely fascinating to me, my friend, because the running joke, I'm old. Like I'm in my 50s. So this whole streaming thing, and was one of the reasons you and what's his name next to you?
Oh, Lord Spew.
Yeah. We'll be on in a future episode, everybody. I was like, okay, I got to have you on the show because I don't understand it. Rick does it, so Rick gets it. There's a whole community out there that actually is helping you.
Yeah.
I grew up that you had friends, or you knew somebody in an agency, and then you had to show up and they kicked you out. This whole digital has allowed you to grow with people and help each other. It's like a family thing.
Oh, totally. There's a community aspect to it that I didn't know existed out there.
Yeah.
And it's been really amazing meeting all of these really like-minded people. And a lot of them don't even do art. Like a lot of the people that go on the art category just like art and are like, people are doing stuff that I don't do or I don't know how to do. And I enjoy the vibes that are here. And I want to keep coming back to this. It's cool to co-work too. It's really interesting seeing the process behind this. Yeah, so there's a fair amount of people that are like, I want to get into it and I don't know how. There's also artists supporting artists. And then there's people that just like supporting artists that just want to see them doing well and think it's cool. And then, yeah, you get this whole super supportive community that's just like, I want good things for you. What can we do to support you? What can we do to help you and be there for you? Oh, you want to do this thing? How do we do this thing together? Because we want to see this thing happen too. And that's like the crazier part to me is that there's so many awesome people that are so outside of themselves that just want to throw themselves out there to help other people. And like, I don't feel like I've gotten that kind of, I don't know, feeling from people before, from a community before. So on Twitch, it's been really cool to just see all these people jump in that I don't know. And then just be like, this is cool and I'm here for it. And now I'm a part of your community. So,
because it's the opposite of corporate, where I've spent my whole life. You meet the one or two person, like, okay, they'll help me. Oh, everybody else is trying to stab me in the back. Okay. Like, you don't get this in this. So how did you even start? Like, how, again, ignorance. How do you start in this? Like, how do you jump in?
so the way that I did it, I was really kind of nervous at first. I first technically actually started streaming in November of 2020, but it was like just chatting while I did crafts, and I didn't have an additional camera to show what I was doing. I would just occasionally show, yeah, I'm working on this. And then I would have the machine going, like my embroidery machine, because I do embroidered patches, stuff like felt with a design that I've programmed, and then I'll set that on the embroidery machine because it's kind of like a CNC, and then do that. So I was doing that on streaming, and then I just had weird experiences. People saying weird things to me, coming on making weird out-of-pocket comments to me, and I was just like, I don't like this. So I stopped, and then somebody was like, well, you need to do it like the artists do on Twitch, where you got to get into the art category. You got to stream your screen or a camera showing your art stuff. You got to set up the layout. Beyond me. I had no idea what any of that was. Downloading Streamlabs, what is that? OBS? I don't understand it. I have to get a microphone so that my stuff's not bad quality. Yeah, exactly. Like I have the HyperX Quadcast, and and that's been a godsend because my microphone situation before was just like, headphones. And that was all a totally brand new world to me. And so between my siblings, they're younger than me. They're all younger than me. My two youngest siblings had been streaming. They're like, this is what I use. And it was this much money. I just looked at some YouTube tutorials, set up one of the, default layouts, the rainbow one where I'm down in the corner and then my screen is up here in the other side. And then eventually I got ideas of kind of what I wanted to do to personalize my stuff. Like I'm going to make my iPad screen that I'm sharing, which is another thing. You have to like download something so that you can broadcast your screen. Because I have a Mac, or no, I don't have a Mac and I have an iPad. And so I have to transfer the screen off my iPad onto my PC, right? And so figuring out that was complicated, and what connectivity is best, if I have it directly connected or Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, whatever. And so then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put my iPad frame in an Etch-a-Sketch, and I'm just gonna draw a little Etch-a-Sketch, and that's gonna be my frame on it. And then I'm gonna mask my camera and make it circle shaped and put myself up in the corner. And so getting into it for me was like a process. And I've told several people, I tell people all the time, if people ask, how do you get into streaming? What do you do to get into streaming? You got to just do it. You got to just figure out what you have to initially, download it, and then just start and have a train wreck of a stream, because you will always have random miscellaneous like technical difficulties, even if you get good at streaming, that will cause your stream to crash or whatever. You got to figure it out. And so the only way you could do it is really through just doing it and just like figuring it out, and then finding what you like and what you don't like. So yeah.
I love that advice, because I think for everyone who doesn't stream or doesn't sort of like, and this goes for not just Twitch, I think, but Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're streaming, I think the fear of that public failure, right? Of like, oh, I'm streaming and then I had my mute on and no one could hear me for like half an hour, right? Or like there's all these things, oh, I installed this new plugin and then it totally like breaks, but like 5 minutes into the stream, like all of this stuff that happens. I think everyone is really terrified of that because then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like everyone is gonna know I fucked it up and I'm an idiot. How did you work past kind of that initial fear of screwing up live on camera?
I think it really helped that I had a musician background, because when you're playing live music and you fuck up, everybody hears it. But at the same time, nobody hears it. It's weird. It's like some people will notice, and you have to just learn to just play it off or make it look like you know what you're doing and then just figure out how to get right back on it. So it's really either like you can play into it and be like, haha, I'm human and I fucked up and everybody laughs about it. Or you can just pretend it didn't happen and everybody will be like, and then forget about it. So I feel like performing really helped me kind of just be like, everybody's a human and doesn't know what they're doing. It makes mistakes and it's totally human to make mistakes. And that's the fun part of it, is like, I feel like being a musician kind of helped me react a little less to becoming embarrassed about things. Like it's easier to not be embarrassed if everything's just haha. Like if I can laugh at myself about this, nobody's laughing at me. Like I'm also laughing and it's not embarrassing. I fall on my ass occasionally from time to time and people see it and they laugh their ass off about it and they're like, oh my god, if that was me I'd be dying. And I'm like, it's funny. Like people fall, people like, I trip all the time. And it's the same aspect. It's just like you have to learn to just have a good attitude about it, because the only way that you're going to have a bad time is if you're allowing yourself to have a bad time with it.
First of all, you play bass, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I figured that out when you were talking about music and you put your hand in the bass and play.
Yeah.
So I love that it's just like fall on your face attitude. And that's, for me, here's the story part. I was too shy to do anything. I'm very introvert, believe it or not, people. But I finally had someone who told me, I'm doing this short version of the story, I never liked anything I ever did. Show me your goddamn artwork. Like I had that push and that pushed me onto the stage. Like, did you have that?
I feel like I've always had positive reinforcement because people are just generally nice. Like I don't feel like I've had very many people look at my stuff and be like, that's garbage, which is nice, but it's also like, are people just being nice? There's a certain point you're like, are people just being nice and not telling me how they feel about stuff because they're so nice about all this stuff that I have to show all the time? And I think the thing is you have to fake confidence about things. Like I'm a shy person too, and I've always been introverted. And when I was younger and getting into music, I let stage fright hold me back. And I was like, I gave myself an ultimatum. And I was like, I want to do this thing and I see other people doing this thing, so why can't I? And it's because I'm holding myself back. And if I don't just allow myself to do it, I will never do it. So my ultimatum to myself was, I had kind of a ukulele guide, somebody that taught me how to do stuff, like a mentor, and at this one music shop. And they also had a cafe next door. And my ultimatum was, if I don't play music for John, if I don't share my music with John, I will never share my music with anybody, because this is somebody that I'm like comfortable with, who's always pushing me to do better and learn and just keep sticking with it and stuff. And so I was like, hey, John, do you have a second? Can I show you my music? Because I'd like to do open mic, but I'm really nervous. I have stage fright. And he was like, yeah, sure. And I played my song and he had a good reaction. I feel like I'm generally pretty good at reading body language too. So it felt like it was a genuine reaction. And then he was like, if you do open mic, I'll play open mic. And so I played open mic and he never played open mic. But I got into music because of him. And then he actually ended up later on gifting me my first bass. It was a project bass that he did himself. And he was like, I had somebody meet me at the end of my driveway when I was a kid and give me my first real instrument. And that changed my life. And I want to do the same thing and pay it forward to you. I cried my little eyes out. And yeah, so that person for me was a big push in my confidence as well, to just like go and do things. But I also feel like there's a fair amount of me pushing myself too, and being like, if you don't do it, no one's going to do it for you. You have to do it, even if you're uncomfortable. And yeah, you just have to fake confidence, because like stuff like that is practiced. There's so many people out there, they're not born with that. They have to build that up. And yeah, you just got to fake it till you make it.
That's such an awesome story. And John, thank you out there for giving Ari her first base. That's a really cool story. Thank you for sharing. And I think that confidence piece is so important for a lot of people because really that's what kind of carries us through to the sharing part of the creation, right? It's easy. A lot of people will create, but then they don't share. And I love that you had that support to help push you through. Were there any like major hurdles that you would say like kind of like that was one of the big things that helped push you over the hurdles? What were some of the hurdles that you've kind of experienced in your creative journey?
I feel like that one's a little bit more difficult question for me. I feel like watching other artists doing their thing and growing over the years has been a really big push for me, that even when I'm feeling down, because there's a period of time in like before I did streaming where I was severely depressed and I was sleeping all day and I was sleeping the day away and then being up all night and just being bummed out. And I was doing all these things, but I felt like I wasn't impactful in any of the things that I was doing, that nothing that I was doing was helping me to grow. I felt really super stuck. So I got a job to mix things up, because I was like, even though I'm paying bills with like art stuff and I don't need to have a job, I need to break up my mundane part of my day to get myself out of myself a little bit. And I don't know, work drama to kind of have a distraction from all the things, the anxieties running through my brain. I feel like that was a little bit of a hurdle because it's always been a back and forth of, is this worth it? Am I doing what I should be doing? And is it going to like, not, is it going to pay off, but like, am I going to be able to pay the bare minimum that I have to for things and still be able to do this, even if I have a job externally or not? Because I want to be doing this and I want to be growing with it, but it's also hard to balance, you know, everything's expensive. Living is expensive. For a portion of time out of the last year, I was actually paying double rent, which really sucked because I had this weird living situation thing happen. And that made me go out and get a job after being freelance for like a year. And that I feel like was also a setback because I'm like, now I got to work again and take time away from what I'm doing. And I feel like I have a little bit of momentum and I have to pull back. I don't feel like I really faced any major hurdles of, I'm debating never doing this again. I feel like it's for me, I've always done art. So I'm always going to do art and make art occasionally here and there, but it's more been how much am I going to do that because of the bare necessities in life that I have to like address and be realistic with myself of, am I going to be able to do this if I just focus on this, or do I have to pick up external help, which it's totally okay to pick up external help. I'm just going to throw that out there while we're on this topic. It's okay to have a job and do art and still have art be your job. That's fine. So yeah, that was my main struggle with it, is just, is what I'm making gonna be enough for me, like as a person, as an artist? Do I like what I'm making? And then am I going to be able to do this more?
I think that's super relatable for most people. A lot of creatives who are kind of, they might not be able to do art full time, or they don't, for a variety of reasons, family or whatever. There's a million reasons why we might need a job. And outside of the creativity, can you maybe walk us through sort of like how you navigate that for yourself? Just because I don't think there's always a right answer for each individual person, but I think it's helpful to kind of hear how other artists are looking at that and navigating the story of like, what does it mean to be an artist full time versus having a day job, or, you know, art as a hobby and kind of or art as a professional, right? Like all navigating all of those different stories. Could you share a little bit more?
So for me, I feel like I've come to terms a little bit more with, sometimes you got to just do what you got to do. And I feel like I'm so determined at this point in making it a reality of getting out of retail, which I just got to let it go from my retail job. And I can't say I didn't see it coming, but at the same time, I did need that job. It's okay to like bounce back and forth. And I've come to terms with the fact that that's just like how it is. I really, for a while, was like, if I'm not doing it to where I can start growing and see the growth and stick with it enough to get out of a job and not have to go back to a job, then I'm not succeeding. But that's not true. You can succeed at it and be growing at it, but growth isn't linear. It's not going to just be like, whoop, I'm growing. It's going to be like, okay, I'm growing here. And then it's a slow month because it's just a slow month. And that's how it is everywhere. And maybe I hit a little bit of a roadblock and I'm not inspired to make stuff, and then I start and I'm doing it again and I'm growing, and it's always going to be this kind of little like roller coaster, which will build up over time. I feel like if you're persistent with stuff, and I definitely believe in an amount of manifestation, because if you are going out and looking for things and reaching for things and talking about things and just putting yourself out there, you'll find things that you weren't even expecting that'll help you grow and get to where you want to go. So yeah, for me, I feel like I did a lot of things to help other people when I was younger, and realized I was neglecting myself and what I wanted to do. And I hit a certain point where I was like, I'm not going to give up on myself. And if I'm not waking up and doing things for myself, then I'm not giving myself a chance. And so I wake up and I choose to do my things and just put a little bit of faith and confidence in myself and continue to do it. And I feel like that's really helped pay off on all those insecurities that I've had in the past about it.
I freaking love you. I mean, your mentality is just great, which I'll get into some things I want to ask about that, but I don't want to let go of this whole adventure spirit of yours and doing what you're doing, and you have a job and everything else. So let's do the magic wand, and suddenly your rich great aunt you never knew about hands you $10 billion, whatever it is, right? And if you didn't have to worry about all the things in life, someone did this to me when I was young. If you didn't have to worry about all those things in life, what would you do? Because you're like everything and everything, what would it be?
I've had this question come up a lot, like on stream, when you're streaming on Twitch and people come in, there's some people that'll just grill you for no reason at all. They'll just come in and they'll ask you a million questions. They want to know your life backstory. They want to know what's going on. They want to know, like, if you'd rather be Diet Coke or Pepsi, or if you'd rather be a hot dog or a sandwich. But then they also ask you a bunch of life questions too about, like, what do you think about death? Or like, what do you think happens after you die? And like, they ask you a million things that you wouldn't expect to get asked. And one of them has definitely been like, well, what would you do if you didn't have to worry about money? And, if I ever got to a point where I didn't have to worry about that kind of stuff, I really would like to open up a collaborative facility, I suppose, that would also work as a place for people to come and like have either some type of residency or a maker's space, and just provide things for people that they can like get into. Like, if they don't have access to something, they can get into it and learn here. And then maybe if somebody wants to come teach a class on something, they can come and teach a class here. And the hope would be that people would come in, it would have a storefront, people could bring in their stuff. It would be like a mini gallery / workspace. And that would be the vibe that I would go for. Is I'd love to do something like that I can work out of, that other people can rent space and work out of, store stuff or sell stuff, and create things together. Because collaboration is everything. I would be nothing without collaboration with other people, whether it's just in having a community spirit of we're all here for each other and enjoying each other's stuff, or actually working with each other. And then outside of that, I feel like a lot of people's answers, not everybody, I would like to travel around and do art in other places. Like, I would really like to get into doing the occasional mural, or going and taking my stuff and doing a little show, and just doing it outside of the space that I'm already in a community that I have here. And yeah, and just taking that outside of LA.
All right, investors, anyone who's looking at having a artist workspace / gallery / makerspace, you now know who to talk to. Please direct it directly to Ari. That's super awesome. I love that answer, just for a variety of reasons. Before we started recording, you mentioned a little bit more about moving styles, or moving into a different kind of realm with your art making. And I'd love to just kind of give you the space to share a little bit more about what you're thinking and where you're going with that.
Historically, I do like silly little guys and cursed art and all kinds of just like squishy things. And I would say that I'm taking an aspect of that into stuff that I'd started doing within the last year and a half or so. I made this thing for a prompt my friend Gumshoe put in their Discord, and it was birdhouse. And I was drawing a birdhouse, and I'm like, oh, I hate this. I want to participate in drawing prompts and things, but birdhouse is not my vibe. And then I try to look at it through the architectural, engineer aspect of what do I like? Maybe I'll draw it like more like a house or whatever. And then for some reason, with the things that I'd had drawn on the screen, I just had the post and the hole for the birdhouse. And I was like, what if the post was a cigarette? What if the hole was like a monocle or like something? And maybe what if the birdhouse was a creature in disguise? And so I made this thing, and it was like this cyclops creature with its teeth bared and like a little cigarette out between it and a bird perched on it with a little, you know how they have those sunglass shade flaps? So that was a door. And then it had like a roof on top with a weathered shingles and chains connected to a little stoop for it to sit on. And it was all crushed into this tiny little space. And I gave it a little tail. It kind of has a where the wild things are aspect to it, or like a feel to it. And somebody on stream was like, oh, they're like cramped little goblins or something like that. And we came up with the name of Cramplins. So it starts with a K-R-A-M-P-L-I-N-S. So Cramplins, cramped little goblins. And they're very dark arts inspired. All the pieces that I have of them are I used a sketch pencil. It's all done digital with paper texture, and it's really dark. And I just got super into them. And now I started doing them a little squishy because I take so much time doing those that I want to have really quick little fun little ideas that I can just get out and put out there for people to enjoy, for myself to enjoy. But yeah, I want to do things like Monster Palooza, or like I have like an affinity or love for those kinds of things, or cryptids and creatures and all those things. And I had like a cryptids series I did a while back where they're all like cute and squishy. But I think between doing Cramplins as a series, I would like to make a book about them, kind of like a field book that like study into their life and what they do and the silly little things they get into. But the idea behind them is that they are like hermit crabs, and they find a space to fill, and sometimes they'll take on the role of whatever that item or object is, a bird house or bird feeder, a lantern. I started squishing them in all kinds of other random things. But yeah, I want to do more of that and have more versatility in my art, because I love that style of stuff, and I always wanted to do dark art when I was a kid, and I was just not like technically skilled enough to do any kind of anatomy or anything that would be creepy. It just looked silly, and I want to do more that direction coming up. So
Please do more of those, because I had no idea what they were called. I saw them on your Instagram. I'm like, they're so freaking cool, like in a jar and then the little kitty car. And you're like, wow. And I wouldn't call them, it's interesting, you call them dark. I call them so humorous. I get why it's kind of a dark vibe, but it's kind of humorous. It's a great mixture of styles you have, Ari Bean. It's like fascinating to me, which leads to the usual question I ask everybody. What inspires you? Who inspires you? Movies, TV, people, it doesn't matter. Like, I'd love to pick your brain of how you come up with this stuff, because it's fun.
it's one of those questions that's like, I don't know how to answer it, because they're like, well, where do you pull inspiration from? You got to pull inspiration from somewhere specifically. And I'm like, I don't have a good answer because I don't have specifics. It's just, I feel like I'm very influenced by everybody around me, all my artist friends that are doing things, whatever is like trending at the time, obviously gets subconsciously kind of sponged into your into your brain. You soak it up whether you want to or not. So it's kind of just like a mix of whatever my current attitude is towards things and the stuff that I like, I guess current pop culture or like other artist friends. I have a really big affinity for the creepy whimsy stuff. There's lots of people that do arts that look very vintage and just like otherworldly. And I feel like a lot of that stuff really influences, especially the Cramplin series that I have going on. It's just like, how do I reach into what I do and make it kind of creepy? But it's more just borderlining on creepy. It's like they're kind of silly if you just look at them, but they do have like a weird air around them of what are they and what are their intentions as these creatures and stuff like that.
So part of the reason I asked it is your stuff reminds me of Foster's Imaginary. Do you remember this show? It was on Nickelodeon. You might be too young. I don't know.
I remember it. Yeah, I totally remember it. I actually drew an Eduardo.
Like subconsciously it is. Huh? Sorry, what? I interrupted.
No, it's okay. So Eduardo, the character with the big horns, the big purple. Yeah, okay. So I had a series where I'd sketched out a handsome Squidward facial structure. And on stream, I would have people suggest characters that we would handsomify. And so I handsamified Eduardo for some reason, but I did his full character because his full character, I mean, if you do his face, you have to do like the whole thing. And so, yeah, I mean, I would say I'm influenced by a lot of like childhood cartoons. I drew a lot of cartoons getting into streaming because it's just something to like draw. I would do alternate styles. So like Powerpuff Girls, but goth or just like random things so that I could still work the technical aspects of things without having to think about stuff if I'm experiencing any kind of art block, and still be practicing those things and flexing those muscles or whatever. But I don't have to think about what I'm doing. And that helped me a lot too, just getting through like art blocks and stuff and pushing through those things. So
that's actually what I mean when I, what influences you. Like everybody thinks, oh, you copy Picasso. It's not about copying. It's what things feed into you and make you the better. It's like music. Like this is why, Ari, you're like I'm so glad my dad bumped into you. You have this great background of music and architecture and now live streaming, and it all starts making you and putting your stuff out in this community that helps you do it all. When you're one of us, one of these creative people, and you have all these influences and all these, and we got into a little bit before, impossible syndrome comes up.
Oh, imposter syndrome.
Impossible. I am, yes. And every creative person I've ever met, even at the highest levels, have it. So, yeah. So I'm curious how you deal with it, how you work through it, and even if it gets into your art.
So I would say I definitely experience a fair amount of it. I think one of the things that's kind of amazing about streaming art is that you always have a little like hype section. There's always all these people that think what you're doing is amazing. And, even when you don't feel like you are doing a great job or whatever. And sometimes people will pop in and I will cry on stream. I'm not ashamed to cry on stream. If you say something really nice and it gets me like all teary-eyed, I'll 100% cry about it, because what the heck? Like there are people that have come in and they'll just say something about, hey, I lurk your streams. I know I don't chat very much, but you really inspire me and I like coming back here and I like hearing the things you have to say when you get on these tangents about stuff. It's really nice to hear you talk about these topics and everything. And I feel like there's always those people there in the back of my head, even when I don't have to like read the stuff that they're saying on stream. If I'm like out doing stuff, I feel like that definitely plays into how I'm feeling about my stuff, because there's always those people that think that what you're doing is amazing. But I do deal with it a fair amount myself. I feel like I'm going through a little bit of it right now because I want to grow creatively. And sometimes when you're doing stuff, you just get in the habit of just doing the things that are in your wheelhouse and you forget that you can do other things. Like you're an artist, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And we limit ourselves by getting into a habit. And so I posted a thing today about it's a silly little star, which so random for me to post, but I'm just like, I'll post this little guy. I think he's funny. I doodled him up. I need to allow myself the creative freedom a little bit more to just do things, even if it's not me, or even if the palette is weird, just because I feel like I want to do it. And so I feel like doing stuff like that too. I didn't allow myself to do stuff like that because of people won't see this and think that it's me, or people won't like this as much because it's not the stuff that I usually do. And so I doubt myself in those ways too, of like pushing my boundaries and putting out new things. And at the end of the day, it's one of those, you got to just like fake confidence kind of things, like talk yourself out of it. Because if somebody was saying that to me, I'd be like, your stuff is great. What are you talking about? And then maybe get into a little bit of like, why are you feeling that way? And like, what things can you do to push through those things, or to like, maybe experiencing roadblock in your art and you don't know what to do, and how about you try doing this stuff instead? So we all experience it, and I think it's just, you just got to push through it, because half the time it's just anxiety. Half the time it's not anything like legitimate, and we all get a little bit anxious and let it get into our feelings and make us feel bad about ourselves when there's nothing wrong there. We were talking about it today on stream too, about how like some days you'll be waking up and you'll have a great day, and you'll next day have a great day, and then all of a sudden you wake up the next day, nothing's happened. You just feel like crap. And you feel down on yourself and you feel like you're in a rut and blah, blah, blah. 2 days ago, you're feeling totally just fine and on top of everything, like back on your bullshit and whatever. But it's just like, it's the same as growth. It's all linear. It's all ups and downs and roller coasters. And you just got to figure out a way to like get yourself through those lows to have a good next day or whatever.
So beautifully said. And I think it's so important for a lot of creatives to keep that in mind, right? And kind of on that track of helping other creatives, what piece of advice would you give to someone who is looking to get started, whether that's streaming or just with art or music or creativity in general? What would you tell? And I'm sure you get this a lot on stream, but for those that haven't watched your stream, what would you tell people who are who they see your work and they're like, I want to do what you do. How do I get started?
It sounds so stupid to just say, you got to just do it. But it's kind of like you just got to do it. Even if you don't think you have the skill or the talent to do it, or you don't know where to start, I would just start with picking up a pencil and a piece of paper and just seeing, like drawing just shapes, figuring out shapes and things. Also, tracing. Tracing is so helpful, and people are so against tracing. Tracing's bad if you're taking that work and you're tracing it, you're posting it as your own work. But for like practicing and learning stuff, you have to figure out the shapes. And sometimes the only way to do that is to trace over it to figure out what's the best shape and what fits here. And so taking photos and then taking those photos and dropping them into like Procreate or whatever program you're going to use, like, and tracing over that till you find what shapes work best for you. Because sometimes the shapes that people break stuff down into for them work for them, but not for you. Everybody's different. I feel like the advice I've given on stream about starting stream is just do it and have a train wreck and learn from it and figure out what works for you, and then go from there. And that's always been super helpful for people too. I've had two people that I know of that have started streaming with that advice. Actually, 3 people that have started streaming with that advice from me and really got into it. And now they do it. And now they make a living doing it, some of them. And yeah, you really just have to just jump into it and be okay with failure or feeling, because I don't think it's even really failure. It's just another way of growing and learning and doing stuff. So in quotes, failure. And then also just being okay with the fact that that's just like a part of the process. And your stuff, at the beginning of streaming, I used to say, it's got to look like a dumpster fire. And then you just got to sculpt it a little bit and work through it until it doesn't look like that anymore. And so you start liking it, because you're not going to like what you put down on the paper at first. And when you're learning and growing, you're just going to have to sketch over your sketches, or scrap it and start over again. And that's totally fine. I went through that growing up. I didn't like a lot of my stuff growing up. And now I feel like now I'm actually starting to like my stuff and feel more confident with my stuff. And I'm 30, like, and I've been doing it my whole life. So, if you're like 30 and you're just starting out, or older than me, whatever, like there's so many people that are getting into it in their 30s, 40s. I even have people that are in their 50s that are like, I've started doing colored pencil stuff, and I've been watching your stream and so-and-so's stream and so-and-so's stream, and taking what you guys have to say and just doing it. And I'm seeing progress, and they'll share their stuff in our discords. And that's really cool to see.
So good. I love all of that. What about for the people who do just jump in and they follow your advice and they're like, all right, I'm going to set up a stream, and they go live and then like no one comes?
You mean what happened to me?
Ari, could you talk us through a little bit of like maybe setting expectations about like what that looks like, or like how long, or like, could you just maybe, help set expectations a little bit better about like, sure, they're going to start streaming. What happens next? Or how do you keep going when, you have 2 streams and no one shows up?
So I think that that's a great question, because I feel like a lot of people will jump into it and be like, I had streamed for 5 hours and only one person was there and they didn't talk. And that feels so bad. Like when I started, I had some social media background in musician community and some people that followed me for my art. And so I had a little bit of something to like grow off of. I would say that watching my process and stuff probably looks a little bit different. It looks vastly different than if you're just somebody starting out. You don't have that community base there because you're new to it, and it's new to you. What you have to do to grow, and this is just specifically for Twitch, it's different from platform to platform, but you have to learn how to raid people. Raiding people is when you take the end of your stream and you wrap it up and you gift it to somebody else. So you dump all of your viewers into somebody else's stream, and that helps you, even if you don't have anybody in your stream. You raid somebody with 1 viewer. Then people know you exist. I think that when I first started streaming, I didn't know what raiding was. I was like, what the fuck is that? I'll figure that out another time. Somebody was like, you got to raid people. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And yeah, so in Twitch, raiding people is huge. If somebody raids you, giving them the platform to be able to share maybe like their work, to get familiar with them, or to get your viewers familiar with them when you have more viewers, is also super important. It's such a community shareable like aspect to it that I feel like helps everybody grow. So getting into streaming, doing it, even if you don't have anybody there, raid somebody, make sure to go hang out in other people's streams and get to know people too. I would not bring up the fact that you stream unless it's like asked or people are talking about it, because you don't want to go out into somebody else's stream and like self-promote, because it just looks bad. But definitely going and finding a community and sharing with people, joining people's discords and sharing your art in their discords, because they usually have a space where you can share your stuff or your social media or post when you go live. All those resources are there for people to use to grow, to find their community that they belong in and share their stuff. And it's a super important aspect of streaming. That's the only way that a lot of people are able to grow, is just by just getting into it and becoming a part of the community.
Fabulous advice. I think that's so helpful, because I think a lot of people, when they get into this, they're very much focused on like, how do I self-promote? And I think this aspect of focusing on asking the better question is of, how do I find the right community and how do I help grow that, as opposed to how do I become, a famous Twitch streamer that can do this full time. So I think that's super great advice. And speaking of Twitch and Instagram, how can people find you? What are the best places for people to go to find more about you and check out all of your art?
I would say I'm primarily active on Twitch and on Instagram. I do have other things like Twitter and TikTok and all those things, but I don't really remember to share there very often. I need to be better about that. My Instagram is ari.bean.things, and my Twitch is Ari Bean Things. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Before we get to usually how we sign off, I would be remiss, I'm using a big word today, if we didn't talk about your makeup, which no one's going to be able to see, but it's how we met you. And I would love to know what inspires it and how it came about, because it's always cool.
Makeup is just another form of artistic expression. And what's really funny is I didn't wear anything besides lipstick until 2020. I'm a face toucher. I'm a crier. I had a friend that did a makeover on me when I was a kid. And then when I was in high school, I had to do like a recipe for something, and I cut onions and I wiped my face. And I was just like, oh, this is messy and I hate this. And I never wanted to wear it. It always looked bad on me. And then I've just seen all these people do, water activated eyeliner and like all these crazy artsy makeup looks. In 2020, in the summertime, I was like, I don't go out and do anything. Why don't I just start practicing? And I just started out with a basic, felt tip liner. And then within the year, I bought my first water activated palette with all these colors. And I'm not I didn't wear color. I was a black outfits in my closet. I never wore really anything else. And if I had it, I would probably put it under a sweatshirt. And yeah, 2020 opened me up to, why don't I get into like colorful clothing? And why don't I get into more colorful t-shirts and just incorporating more color into my life? And yeah, so it's just art on my face.
But I love the art. It's one of my favorite things to check out on Instagram. And what new look does Ari have now? Because they're fabulous.
Thank you.
All right. How we love to end the show is we always give our guests the final word, and it literally is yours. You can say it or do or say anything you want.
I guess the theme of the week for me has just been to just keep your head up and keep pushing forward with things, and then not to forget to try new things. So whatever you're going through, if you're having like a rough time, there's always somebody out there rooting for you. That's just the basis for all my streams and everything. There's always somebody rooting for you out there that always wants the good things for you. And yeah, just keep doing your own thing and being yourself, and you'll find your audience and your community.
Thank you for joining Rick and myself on another episode of Origins, A Creative Journey, a DesignerCon production. Please like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, download and listen to us every place you get your favorite podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Origins, A Creative Journey, all one word. Drop us an email for thoughts, ideas, or maybe somebody you'd like us to interview at deconpodcast@gmail.com. And make sure you join us in Las Vegas for DesignerCon, North America's premier annual design convention. All the information can be found, including tickets, at designercon.com. Till then, enjoy your own creative journey.